Hi there, I'm Lillian. Welcome to my channel. Here I talk about what it's like to wake up one day and find yourself in a real life nightmare. You discover you're married to a covert narcissist. I talk about how I was baited through love bombing, trapped by a trauma bond, and stuck in blindness, unable to tell the difference between abuse and love for 34 years. Here I share my journey of how healing my feminine heart was the key to everything. I started to understand God in a whole new way, and His Word spoke to my heart in a way I didn't know it could. I learned to understand myself better, why I struggled with self-confidence, and why predators were always drawn to me. But the most significant revelation was that a healed feminine heart can drive away darkness with light. Are you being breadcrumbed in your marriage? You're either being breadcrumbed or cleaved to. Masculinity is doing one or the other to your femininity. The experience in your marriage will be very different depending on whether you're being cleaved to or fed breadcrumbs. It's how you feel inside your inner girl. Do you feel isolated and lonely in your marriage, or connected and cherished? Do you feel neglected and ignored, or seen and heard? Are you receiving masculine attention and contribution? Do you feel needy and desperate? Or are you experiencing that connection and affection and like a constant, continual friendship with him? The main difference between breadcrumbing and cleaving is consistency. But before that, you can't make him cleave if he's breadcrumbing you. So don't think you can change a husband. He changes himself, you don't change him. Now, that might sound like semantics, but there's a difference between training a man how to love you and teaching him like he's a child. We don't tell him what to do. We don't teach grown men by telling them what to do. That's what we do with young children. We train them by teaching them because they aren't adults. Whether he breadcrumbs or cleaves to you, which is his choice, remember, they both have consequences. Your husband does have the free choice whether he wants to do the work of cleaving or if he wants to just slough off and breadcrumb. But what he doesn't get to do is choose different consequences. Nobody in life gets to choose a different consequence other than what is the reality of their choice. Men get the results of what they work for, right? A man does good, then feels good. He's external towards internal. A woman is the opposite. She feels good internally first, and then it's external. She feels good, then does good. It's dangerous to your femininity to respond to a man that's breadcrumbing as though he's cleaving. You're the Ezer Neged. That's who God created you as. You're a mirror that's positionally in front of him all the time. You've got to reflect reality in truth and love back to him. If you don't, it's not just dangerous to you and you're lying to your husband, but it's disingenuous to God because you're not doing the very thing he created you to do in marriage. I have a video about the Ezer Neged. I will post it in the description box. So what does cleaving feel like? Well, it's consistent. What does your husband's cleaving feel like? There's healthy consistency and toxic consistency, which is the breadcrumbing. A toxic consistency would look something like when he wants sex. So let's say he wants sex twice a week. So he consistently cleaves to you twice a week. Hi there, this is Editing Lillian. I wanted to pop in here and clarify that I don't mean that a man wanting sex is toxic. I mean that sex is one of the easiest places to see the difference between cleaving and breadcrumbing. It is consistent, but it's toxic to your femininity because it consistently benefits only him, not you, for you. It's intermittent reinforcement. That's what you're experiencing. He's cleaving to get something. He's giving to get. He's technically buying sex from you with fake connection and affection. What breadcrumbs have you accepted? What toxic consistency have you been told to accept? Let's say you know you need a connection value of 7 in your relationships, and he knows this because you've talked about it, probably on more than one occasion. So he shows up from work on Friday, and you've had no connection or friendship all week. It's 0. There is no connection value of 7. But he tries to take all the cleaving that he should have been doing all along and tries to squish it into a half hour right after the kids are put to sleep. Do you accept that? Would you be honoring God with your femininity? Or is that people-pleasing and enabling laziness in your brother in Christ? What you're doing by accepting those breadcrumbs, that toxic consistency, is you're training him to shoot lower than what you know your value is. The worst marriage mindset I ever heard was reward his effort. It doesn't matter how low. I don't buy that. Men are not stupid. They might need training about femininity, but that doesn't mean they're not capable of striving higher. Good grief, that's the design of masculinity. Don't reward breadcrumbs like you're in a true relationship. It doesn't honor God. That's why you get less and less interested in sex as time has gone on. Your husband has taken what he owes, your femininity in marriage. That's your feminine due benevolence, right? 1 Corinthians 7:3. And he's systematically eliminated it by turning your sexuality into a duty or obligation within the hierarchical role of wife, while at the same time satiating his own masculinity. He's blended the two to his advantage. When you keep lowering the bar for him to be in relationship with you, that's where you're going to end up. Does sex feel like an obligation for you? If it does, it's time to start raising your value. Look at it this way. Is it religion or relationship with God? It's relationship first, and that causes the keeping of the law. The law cannot create the relationship, nor can it keep you in relationship with God. Is it faith or works? Works come out of faith. Faith is first, and it produces the works. It's no different in marriage. The one flesh relationship comes first. It produces the fulfillment of the obligation. You can't demand the one flesh relationship as an obligation. When you move sex out of relationship and into the hierarchical structure of roles, what you have is dominance and submission, not a one flesh relationship between masculinity and femininity. And that's not what Ephesians 5 tells husbands to do. Husbands are to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself, for no one ever hates his own flesh, but provides and cares for it. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. The scripture doesn't say love her physical body as he loves his own physical body, like love her vagina as he does his own penis. That's not what cleaving is about. There's more to caring and providing for a woman. Everything that needs care, all her femininity, is inside of her. It's not just her vagina that's hidden inside of her. There's also her feminine heart, soul, and mind. And curiously, Paul never tells a woman to care for a man's flesh. He never tells femininity to provide and care for masculinity. The feminine doesn't owe the masculine sex as an obligation. Please don't believe that. Becoming one flesh is a whole body experience that begins with the heart, mind, and soul. That's the friendship part. The culmination of that is sex. And another thing Paul didn't say is care for and provide for your wife's heart, soul, and mind only when you want sex. It's ongoing and continual from the moment you get married. Verse 31 says, for this reason. That's the reason a man steps into this provisional capacity. It's the beginning for him. Breadcrumbing turns you into a sexual option for him, like a prostitute. Sex without relationship is sex without friendship. Sex without the work of cultivating the femininity of the woman, that's a prostitute. A man is doing lazy man's masculinity, which is porn or prostitution. He takes the reward and the enjoyment. He takes the good without doing the work. Remember, God designed masculinity to do good and then receive feeling good. Accepting breadcrumbs diminishes your femininity by making it optional. The purpose of your femininity is not to be an option for anyone. A man's supposed to provide masculine nourishment. It's a command from God. That's what the head does. It provides for and cares for femininity the way Christ does with the church. Ephesians 5:32. If a man is not up to the challenge, that blueprint designed for marriage laid out by God, he's got no business becoming a husband. True cleaving is ongoing. Cleaving began when you met your husband. It started with your friendship. It's the soil in which the one flesh relationship grows out of. The one flesh relationship is only as good as the soil it's growing out of. With true cleaving, there's no starts and stops. It's not an event. Sex is the culmination of cleaving. It's what's meant to grow out of the cleaving. A one flesh relationship, or sex, cannot grow out of breadcrumbing. Resist breadcrumbing. Resist what doesn't feed your femininity. Resist what doesn't feel good inside you. Would you eat food that didn't build you into your highest and best and strongest and healthiest self? No, you wouldn't. When your body wants water, do you give her bread? No, you give her water. Your feminine heart belongs to your masculine husband. Do you know what that means? That means as far as the one flesh relationship is concerned, he is totally responsible for your femininity. Is he feeding it for the benefit of you and the one flesh relationship, or is he breadcrumbing for his benefit? What do you need in order for your whole female body to be nourished? All your mind, all your heart, and all your soul. Because before your husband can nourish you, you have to know you. You have to know what you need and what you want. Tell him what you need, but just don't tell him how to do it. And what you need comes from your feelings. When you know what you need and you can articulate it to him in a way that doesn't emasculate him, you know what this does? It will separate a true believing brother from a wolf who's pretending to be a husband. Closing thoughts. First, shh. Don't say a word about this to him. Discovering that your husband's dangerous is a scary place to end up. It's never where you thought you'd be, and it feels like an unreality. But your silence about your awareness of what he really is, that's your safety zone. And always remember, a clueless guy that causes dysfunction and seems difficult, he's not dangerous. But the malignant man is not clueless. He just pretends to be difficult and dysfunctional so that he can hide how dangerous he is.